Hello, welcome back. For this video, we'll answer the 13th problem from the regular season round of MIT Integration B 2025. And for this problem, we're looking for the integral of the square root of x squared minus 1 dx. I suggest that you pause this video first and try to solve this on your own. If you're ready, let's begin. The given integrand is quadratic in nature. This is x squared minus 1 right here. And whenever you have this x squared minus 1 or an x squared term somewhere, it's often a good idea to use either of two ways: the trigonometric substitution or the hyperbolic substitution. So in this video, I'll discuss two solutions for this one. One is trigonometric and the other one is hyperbolic. I'll leave it up to you to choose between the two. So let's start. Let's start with a trigonometric. For the trigonometric one, we have here x squared minus, let's call this for now m. So this is m squared. X squared minus m squared. And whenever you have that quadratic term like that, the substitution that you have to use is the secant substitution. So we have here the integral of square root of x squared minus 1 dx. So in this case, we let x be secant of theta, so that the square root of x squared minus 1 is equal to the square root of secant squared minus 1 theta minus 1, which is equal to tangent of theta. Of course, that should be the absolute value of tangent of theta, but for purpose of integration like this one, we just take the face value, that is just tan theta. Okay, so we get the derivative of both sides. Dx must be equal to secant of theta tangent theta d theta. Right? So the integral becomes the integral of square root of x squared minus 1. As I've said, that's tangent of theta. Tangent of theta. And then the derivative dx is secant theta tan theta d theta. So that's secant theta tangent theta d theta, which we can combine as secant theta tangent squared theta d of theta. If you've been integrating for some time, especially if you're trying to join integration Bs, this form might be already familiar to you. And the trick here to answer this one is we have to rearrange this one as secant theta tangent theta times tangent theta d theta. And then we let u be this one, and this 2 becomes dv, which is for the integration by parts method. Alright, so we use integration by parts, that's IBP. Let u equals tangent of theta, du is equal to secant squared theta d theta, and then dv must be secant theta tangent theta d theta, and v must be secant of theta. We split this one as secant theta tan theta primarily because we want to use that as a derivative of secant theta. So we can represent v as secant theta. Right? So by IBP, we have u dv is equal to uv minus v du. So this one, this integral right here, will be equal to, let's call this I. So I must be equal to uv, so that's uv equals tan theta secant theta minus v is secant theta times du is secant squared theta d theta. right? So we're not done yet because we don't know yet the derivative of this one or the integral of this one. But if we write secant squared using the Pythagorean identity involving secant, the same one we use here, which means that secant squared theta equals tangent squared theta plus 1. If we use that identity here, we can write it as secant theta times tangent squared of theta plus 1 d theta. Why do we do this? Because if you multiply secant theta by tangent squared theta, you'll end up with this integral right here, which we have set to be equal to I. Right? You see where I'm going? So we write this one as tangent theta secant theta minus integral of secant theta tangent squared theta d theta minus distribute here this one to 1, so that's secant of theta d theta. Again, as I've mentioned, this right here must be equal to I, and this one right here has a known antiderivative already. That's ln of the secant theta plus tangent of theta. Right? So I'll move here. So we have here I must be equal to tangent theta secant theta. Oops, sorry. Tangent theta secant theta minus I minus ln of secant theta plus tangent of theta. And let's just put the c here, plus c. The I, we can put it on the left side. We get 2i must be equal to tangent of theta secant theta minus ln of secant theta plus tangent theta plus c. Ultimately, we divide both sides by 2. So the answer must be I equals tangent theta secant theta minus ln of secant theta plus tangent theta plus c over 2. Of course, you can just put the plus c at the end, or you can just put it in the numerator. It doesn't make much difference. Now the only thing that's left is for us to rewrite back to x. As I've mentioned earlier, tangent of theta is equal to secant squared theta minus 1, which is square root of x squared minus 1. So this is square root of x squared minus 1. Secant theta is x minus ln of secant theta tangent theta plus c over 2. Just simplify this a bit. X squared minus 1 minus ln of x plus square root of x squared minus 1 plus c all over 2. And that's our final answer. Again, for this one, we make use of the substitution, the trigonometric substitution. X is equal to secant of theta. Right? I hope that's clear. Now, personally, I want this method because I'm quite familiar. I'm quite good already with trigonometric identity. So, personally, I'll do integrals like this using trigonometric substitution. But I understand that some people prefer hyperbolic substitution, so I'll show you as well how to do it using that method. So for this one, we have again the integral of x squared minus 1 dx. Now when we do trigonometric substitution, hyperbolic substitution, sorry, x squared minus m squared should be done using the hyperbolic substitution using cosine. So we here let x be the hyperbolic cosine of theta, and then we know that square root of x squared minus 1 is equal to the square root of cos squared theta minus 1, which is the hyperbolic sine, right? So dx is equal to hyperbolic sine of theta d theta. Now you have to be careful here because if you're familiar with trigonometric identities, you might mistakenly denote the derivative of cosh as negative sinh. But in reality, when it comes to hyperbolic functions, the derivative of cosh is just positive sinh. Okay? By the way, I'm pronouncing it as cosh and sinh because that's how I learned it in uni. If you're not using those pronunciations in your uni before, I completely understand, and let me know in the comments how you want me to pronounce it moving forward. Okay? So, we now use this substitution and implement in our integral. So if we do this, we get the integral of x squared of x squared minus 1. Again, we call that I is equal to square root of the square root of this term is sinh. So this is sinh theta, and then the derivative is sinh theta d theta, which is equal to the square of the hyperbolic sine theta. Now here comes the tricky part. Similar to trigonometric functions, to evaluate squared hyperbolic sine and cosine, we have to use power reduction identities. I personally don't memorize them, or I'm not very familiar with them. I don't have those identities in hand, so I have to look this up somewhere in the internet. And the power reduction identity for hyperbolic sine is cos 2 theta plus 1 over 2 d theta. Okay, so this is sinh squared theta has a power reduction identity of cos 2 theta plus 1 all over 2. We can factor out the 2, so we have 1/2 of cos 2 theta plus 1 d theta, and what's left is just to evaluate this individually. The antiderivative of cos 2 theta is sinh 2 theta all over 2, and then 1 is just theta plus c. So this is 1/2 of, actually I'll combine them in just one fraction. So this is 1/4 of sinh 2 theta plus 2 theta plus c. Now here comes the interesting part. You can express this back to theta by just simply plugging in the value of theta in terms of x, which in this case is arc cos x, or the inverse hyperbolic cosine of x, right? So you can write this as sinh of 2 times the inverse of cos of x plus 2 times the inverse hyperbolic cosine of x all over 4 plus c. And this can be your final answer already, if it's allowed. Okay, if you're allowed to express things in terms of inverse hyperbolic functions, then this should be okay. Now, if you're not allowed to express everything in terms of inverse functions, you might have to rely on trigonometric or hyperbolic identities. So I hope you learned something from me today. If you have any questions, clarifications, or violent reactions, just let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.